Hi, my name is Shikha Mittal, and I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at VMware. I head a global team that is responsible for delivering multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, desktop as a service as part of Digital Workspace solutions. I'm very excited to be here today at CTO Advisor Hybrid Cloud Conference. And in this session, we're going to discuss what hybrid cloud is, why it's all the rage, different considerations to think about, and successful examples of organizations who have deployed this model. So why choose one when you can have both on-premises and the cloud? So let's get started. The concept of hybridity is not new. In fact, take Greek mythology, for instance, with the centaur, a powerful creature where a fantastic horseman has become one with a horse. More importantly, it's an example where there is a mix of unique capabilities from two different worlds. If you fast forward to today, this still rings true across many different industries. In fact, we see entire industries adopting this hybrid approach, whether it is retail with your brick and mortar stores and online shopping, automotive with gas and electric, or education with classrooms or online learning. Closer to home in the IT world, what exactly is hybrid cloud? Especially with all these terms, you have distributed cloud, multi-cloud, super cloud. So what exactly is hybrid cloud? So simply put, it's essentially a mixed deployment where you can have applications running using a combination of storage, computing, and services that span between public cloud and private cloud. Private cloud meaning your internal data center. Now, it's worth noting that even though we are talking about hybrid cloud, there is an overall hybrid strategy that includes different hybrid elements. And I am particularly calling out three here: infrastructure, management, and applications. So let's take a look at this sort of interesting view. So you have infrastructure, which is a little bit more intuitive when we talk about hybrid cloud. So you have your storage, networking, and computing in your private data center on premises, most likely. And then you have, public cloud, of which you can have one or many. But the point is that infrastructure itself can almost be considered as a fungible resource so that you can have your portable workloads that can span between on-premises and the public cloud. They can mix and match and go back and forth. So that's essentially the hybrid infrastructure as part of your hybrid cloud. And then you have management. Of course, for a hybrid cloud, it's always better if you have a holistic management view, which can span your on-premises and your public cloud. But even within the management piece, there is a lot of hybridity that's going on because it is using elements which are local, like app packages, data, status, topology. And it is also using the cloud elements, for instance, a dashboard, troubleshooting notifications, and so on, analytics experience. So there is a hybridity element even within the management piece. And then you have applications, and there's a whole hybrid assortment of these. You have Win32 apps, virtual apps, SaaS apps, and now a new kind of modern apps that are taking advantage of technologies that are sort of born in the cloud. So now let's take a look at what exactly is the industry saying. What are the analysts saying? Well, as per Gartner, cloud migration is not stopping anytime soon. In fact, they are predicting that this will reach nearly 600 billion this year. In a conference that they had in December, they are in fact forecasting the public cloud spending to reach $1 trillion. But the main thing is that the main drivers of this public cloud spend are expected to be multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. They also note that more than half the IT spend is also shifting to the cloud, hybrid or not. So this in itself is an indication that the IT staff and capabilities are essentially geared towards the cloud. That's where the spend is. So this will also be driving this kind of a mix. And if you look at the 2022 State of the Cloud report from Flexera, It's essentially saying that multi-cloud, hybrid cloud is on the rise. In fact, take a look that the vast majority of the multi-cloud organizations that they surveyed are all thinking in terms of hybrid cloud. So yes, hybrid cloud is indeed all the rage, as suggested by these robust growth numbers. And it kind of makes sense because we are seeing organizations who have been on premises, they're running out of their data center, they're struggling with skilled IT workers. They see the promise of the cloud with the scale, the flexibility, everything as a service. They are also seeing some of the cost implications of the public cloud, and they see that hybrid cloud is the easy bridge to cloud. In the conversations that I've been having with several organizations in the last few years, in fact, many of them do not see hybrid cloud as a transitionary phase as originally thought. Instead, they see this as steady state because it is a perfect solution to get best of both worlds. So now let's take a closer look at some of the top trends that are driving public cloud adoption, but see it specifically with the lens of hybrid cloud. So the first one here is remote virtual workspaces. The last 3 years have served as a catalyst to accelerate the adoption of VDI and DaaS for organizations who are looking to provide remote and secure work. The hybrid cloud advantage here is that organizations can choose from solutions that can serve up a virtual desktop, either from on-premises or from the public cloud, based on a host of parameters like proximity to data, end user location, the security profile of the end user, etc. The next one is AI adoption. As AI ML becomes more pervasive, organizations do recognize that it's a lot more economical to use the vast computing resource that is needed in the public cloud for data analysis, while reserving some of the other workloads on premises. Data sovereignty is another example where initially organizations thought that the private data center is the one hammer that they have for all problems, whether it is data security, data compliance. But no, you have sovereign clouds that can be stood up, which are closely following the rules of the hybrid cloud workbook. And then you have edge computing, again, a huge accelerator for hybrid cloud, because hybrid cloud serves almost like a foundation to make edge computing possible. It allows the application and the data to be closer to the edge. And as the number of IoT devices, for instance, keeps growing, edge computing is also going to grow, thus really driving hybrid cloud. And then you have sustainability. Today, organizations take ESG pretty seriously. They're looking to reduce their carbon footprint. And the least you can do is say, move some of the workloads to public cloud, thus reducing your utilities and going towards that sustainability goal. So if you think about the benefits of hybrid cloud, cost savings is a big one. If you can scale your computing resources and eliminate massive CapEx, which is just reserved for handling short-term spikes, then you're definitely taking care of a huge amount of cost savings. The other piece, which we don't talk about a lot, is in the public cloud, there's a lot of cloud spend that is wasted. In fact, in the same Flexera report, you will see that the wasted cloud spend has gone up. And it is now, I think, 32% or something, which is pretty shocking when organizations are adopting the cloud, but don't really know what that cloud bill even looks like. It keeps growing, but there's a lot of that wasted spend. So with the hybrid cloud, you can start to take reins back, be a little bit more organized, and control that. There's data privacy and control. Because hybrid cloud gives a very easy way to separate secure sensitive data and allow internal IT staff to be in control of critical operations. Scale and demand, another big one here, where you can scale resources up and down based on demand to meet your burst or fluctuating needs. There's improved IT efficiency because now you're able to improve your speed of deployment, the agility with which you can respond to your business needs. So this provides a lot of efficiency by adopting public cloud to your on-premises deployments. And then, of course, optimizing IT spend and skills. If you're able to mix and match between on-premises and the public cloud, it means that you're not really training or hiring completely new staff. You can train your existing IT staff to take this on. So what kind of use cases does this actually provide? Well, typical ones that I see, cloud bursting, seasonal bursts, whether it is retail or finance. This is a big one. And it's great to have a public cloud to essentially catch that overflow demand. You have cloud-specific services, image recognition, language translation, perfect for the public cloud, while the rest can continue to be in your private data center. You have disaster recovery in the cloud, a huge use case I see all the time. And it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're doing this in active mode or even active passive. You can use the cloud as your DR site, use it on when needed. At least the organizations are able to shut down or evacuate their data center needs on premises. Otherwise, it was just sitting there waiting for a disaster to happen, which nobody ever wanted. Hybrid cloud also allows the ability to support app migration to the cloud. So as your apps are making that shift, modernizing the apps, not a problem. You can, again, have best of both worlds. And you can also support modern workloads that are using some of the cool technologies that cloud provides. And in terms of industries that are really leveraging some of these benefits, to be honest, I think this is seen across the board, but I did call out a few where this becomes even more pertinent. You have, for instance, finance, where your trade orders are placed in the private cloud. Analytics are served well in the public cloud. You have healthcare with patient data, sensitive data for compliance and so on, staying local in the private data center, but the modern healthcare applications are served out of the public cloud. Retail, very similar, payment information, legal regulations, and so on, that can stay local, but hosting, operations easily can be put in the public cloud. And then you have the government and public sector, where again, data is processed on premises, but IT modernization is happening across the board, and it's pretty fascinating to see. And that is all served well in the public cloud. But as with anything, there are challenges, and organizations do have to watch out for a few things in order to have a successful hybrid cloud deployment. And I'm particularly calling out 3 things to watch out for. So there's data integration and synchronization that organizations need to think through. It's easy if the data is completely separate, but in many cases, the data has to follow the user, or data has to follow the workload. And there are several tools and vendors which provide solutions. So that really needs to be thought through. The second piece is the network connectivity or network segmentation that is needed between the private clouds, public clouds, a lot of considerations to think through. And also we find that depending on the different departments in the organizations that we talk to, sometimes the requirements don't even necessarily match, which makes this even more of a spaghetti of requirements that really needs to be thought through. So that's another piece which can take a bulk of the discussions. And then there's unified management. It serves nobody any good if the organization is leaping into the hybrid cloud world, but is only setting up a different silo, where there's an entire team that is a separate team looking at cloud and a separate team is looking at a private data center. Then the hybrid cloud advantages are completely lost. So yeah, 3 things really to pay attention to make hybrid cloud successful. And I want to share 3 examples of organizations who have gone through this process, particularly noting what kind of outcomes they were looking for, what kind of challenges they faced, and how they went about the deployment. So starting with the National Stock Exchange of India, this is the 2nd largest electronic stock exchange in the world, and they sought to modernize their IT platform. Sounds great. But why hybrid? They could have easily done this in their private data center itself. Well, they had a few needs. They wanted to address 3 S's, speed, security, and scalability. And they needed to be agile while doing this, which their private data center was not able to afford. So they were not as agile in their private data center, not to mention their data gravity or data residency requirements as part of their compliance use cases. And they also needed to keep up with the demand of their own developer base, because they were trying to roll out modern services to meet their customer needs. And their existing private data center was not agile enough to keep up with that growing demand. Hence, hybrid cloud. So how do they go about this? Well, they adopted a hybrid cloud platform that spanned public cloud, in this case, AWS, and the private cloud. And essentially, they were looking for abstraction, commonality, a common platform that gave them storage, compute, management that made it easier. And now, actually, with the hypervisors also looking at on-premises solutions, there are a lot of options in the market. So I guess that's a good thing, because it allows you to have a lot of choices in terms of what options to follow to have this kind of a platform. But it's important. So they also looked at network segmentation to secure their different applications. This gave them a lot of flexibility because different teams could work on different segments, which worked out well. And they also really stressed on the need for this holistic management view, because they were also keen on limiting their costs in terms of manpower training. They also virtualized their data center, which was great, because then they could extend what their private data center could do and meet the needs of their developers as well. The second example that I have is the College of New Jersey. It's a regional university based in the northeast of US, and they were trying to provide a secure digital learning experience, especially coming out of the pandemic. That was a new normal, and they wanted to provide that as a modern solution. So why could they not have done this on premises? Why hybrid? Well, in the attempt to do this modernization, they also wanted to start curtailing their on-premises maintenance. They wanted to get away from that hardware business, which was not really their core competence. And with the everything as a service, public cloud really was very attractive. But why couldn't they go completely into the public cloud? Well, they had certain workloads, especially applications that use GPU-intensive workloads. Those needed to still stay on premises, again, to manage the costs. So they needed a mix of these kinds of applications, some served in the cloud, some staying on premises. And that's how they used a hybrid virtual desktop solution and served up their almost 8,000 students with the desktop, which served their needs. So it was very specific, depending on the end user, depending on what applications were needed. The appropriate desktop is spun up. So that's really smart. And they were able to roll out a BYOD experience for their 8,000 students. And not only that, with this, they were able to scale down some of their compute resources, especially after graduation in the summer. So very well thought out and extremely successful in case of their outcomes. The third example I have here is Hartford Healthcare. And this is a teaching-based hospital, and they serve about 17,000 patients a day. And they're really cool because they have this laser focus on patient experience. That is their differentiator, and they really wanted to double down on it. What they were looking for is to improve that experience and provide real-time collaboration. Now, the challenge they had is that over a past decade, they had really grown a lot through mergers and acquisitions, and they had a lot of dispersed care teams, dispersed hospitals, dispersed processes, and so on. So their challenge was to come up with a consistent way to provide secure remote access to their staff. And secondly, turn around and provide remote wellness appointments and informal consultations to their patients as well. They also wanted to use that as a way to source global talent, because why not? That's what remote work allows you to do. So they wanted this to be really easy to use, and source that talent. They also wanted to increase their scale and capacity, agility, where they could leverage some of the cutting edge telemedicine applications that were served up in the cloud, but they wanted to also to keep serving some of their existing custom applications, but they didn't want to refactor and re-architect their on-premises environment. So yeah, a tall order, a lot of things that they wanted to achieve, but they did this extremely systematically, and they are very successful because they went about it sort of in a very methodical way. They, of course, started with the hybrid cloud architecture, which I think was central to their success. They were able to extend their on-premises into the public cloud. In this case, it was Google Cloud, because they had some of these telemedicine applications that they wanted to take advantage of. It was served up through a virtual desktop, which is great. They again used a hybrid solution there so that they could redirect whichever application, just the virtual app, just the desktop, whatever was needed. They were also able to keep their data center, on-premises data center costs in check, reduce some of the spend there, send the others into the public cloud, and really setting the stage for not only modernization with what they have right now, but becoming prepared for what is to come. I think in the healthcare space specifically, there's a lot, it's almost like a revolution that is happening with all kinds of applications and even compliance regulated apps that are available in the public cloud. So this is going to be a very interesting space. And definitely with this move, Hartford Healthcare is poised itself for growth. So a lot of advantages of hybrid cloud with these three examples. And this was essentially my short capsule of hybrid cloud. And I hope this was useful, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
As promised, wasn't that a great session? If this is your first session of the day and you're wondering what's next, well, you have options. You can hang out in the chat room now. You can see there's a conversation going on in the chat room in the session that you're in. This will be open until the end of this hour, and the top of the next hour, the next session will start. If you want to go into the breakout room, there's a general chat session. You leave here, go into the lobby, and then enter general chat. You can chat with your regular attendees. I'll be floating between the two chat environments. Love your feedback. If you have any questions, please, you can DM me within the platform or on Twitter at CTO Advisor. Enjoy the rest of the conference.